Few of us will ever realise a fanciful dream. Jack Walker did. The lifelong Blackburn Rovers fan who so wanted his hometown club to be successful, he channelled his unwavering determination and his own personal fortune into fulfilling it. Sadly, he passed away last week at the age of 71. His spirit, though, will live on forever.
Jack Walker, the millionaire businessman who took Blackburn Rovers to the top of the Premier League, has died.
On behalf of everyone connected with Blackburn Rovers Football Club, and I'm sure I speak not only for my fellow directors, but for every official, employee and supporter, may I express our deep sorrow at the untimely death of Mr. Jack Walker. Our heartfelt sympathies go out to Mrs. Walker and the whole family at this saddest of times. No tribute from us, no matter how long or detailed, could ever do justice to Mr. Walker's achievements here at Ewood Park. Jack Walker was this football club's #1 supporter in every possible sense. His love for Rovers knew no boundaries, and his loyalty and commitment could never be brought into question. It wasn't unexpected, and he was ill, and everybody knew he was ill. But when it actually happens, you know, it's still a bit of a shock. And over the weekend, everybody's been coming up and saying, "Do you remember this story? And do you remember that story?" And if you go down to the ground at the moment, people are still down there. They're sort of looking with, you know, amazement at the ground and the flowers and everything. People are still finding ways to come to terms with it themselves.
That saying in football that, you know, no one is bigger than the club is not true in our case. Jack was the football club. It was his club, and it's a tremendous loss to everybody.
One thing I do know that I did have total respect for the man. And another thing that he knew also was he was a man that wasn't affected by what he'd achieved in business. He was pretty down to earth. He loved the company of the players, he loved the company of men, and he loved to have the practical jokes. He was a man who was brought up in an environment where it was pretty close-knit family, and a man who was brought up where it was just an ordinary man.
He's probably the biggest star, biggest man that Blackburn have probably ever had.
There was nothing flash about him, nothing at all. He was a normal, he was your neighbour, if you like, and what you see with Jack is what you get, and if you didn't like it, then tough, and that's one of the reasons why I admired him.
It'll be an emotional time in the next few days. It'll be hard, really, because, you know, I don't think anybody ever imagined this day coming, but he'll be sorely missed.
There's always a lot of emotion in football, as you know, but this will be an occasion of a genuine outpouring of grief and emotion for a man who was really loved by the town. As we all used to say from the terraces, there's only one Jack Walker, and there was only one Jack Walker.
We all know what he did for Blackburn. A wonderful, wonderful man, and he did it for totally the right reasons. He didn't do it for self-gratification. He did it because he was a Blackburn fan. But he was a Blackburn town fan as well. He just loved the whole setup. And what we'll miss is the man who gave us a reason to smile.
A self-made millionaire, his latter years were spent on the beautiful Isle of Jersey with wife Carol. A quiet, picturesque setting, a location where privacy is a right. The perfect place for a man who never sought the limelight. His life of luxury was reward for a lifetime of hard graft. Yet, despite being in a position to simply relax, his business instinct guided him to set up his own airline, Jersey European. Neither did he ever lose his love for football, becoming patron of the island's first Tower United. A Jersey resident, it made sense to have a local footballing interest. He gave them his own unique style of support. His loss has left them devastated too.
He was a friend, really. I know he sponsored the club and paid a lot of our bills, but really he was a friend, a supporter. He followed us all over the place years ago when I was still playing, which is a few years ago. When we played in the English competitions, he used to fly all over the world, you know, from Munich, you name it. He'd fly back, watch the game and fly out again. That's what he was. Just loved football, a true supporter.
Jersey was a world away from his humble beginnings in Little Harwood. This is the small Lancashire village where a young Jack Walker dreamt of wealth and Wembley. He grew up in Providence Street. His father Charles ran a sheet metal concern with a simple blend of northern nous and honest graft. Jack left Bangor Street School aged 13, staying on at the youth club a little longer for some lessons in life. The family business was passed on to the young sons, Jack and Fred, and the two put Patterson Street on the map with the Backstreet engineering works that grew into the industrial heart of Blackburn.
We had a sheet metal business which was employing about 4 people plus myself, and we weren't really getting anywhere with a turnover of £6,000 a year, and opportunities came along to develop the business. I took over in 51. In 1956 I saw the opportunity to really get into the steel business, and everything set off from there. My brother joined me in about 1955, and he was in the Royal Navy, then the Merchant Navy, and he and I worked together putting Walkers where it is.
Jack came over very polite, very businesslike, very much get up and go. When they came at first, they had no transport, they hadn't got the wagons that they have now, and they used to come up Highfield Road with a sort of small handcart with steel on it, so it was really very humble beginnings.
The steel business that had begun with just £80 to its name after the war was growing at a phenomenal rate. It soon became Britain's biggest and moved into the world's largest steel stockholders plant at Guide on the outskirts of the town.
We used Blackburn as a very cheap way of handling steel and shipping it out to customers, because the contractor was always interested in getting backloads to where he came from. So they'd come down from Middlesbrough, say, with a load of beams, and they'd take a load of sheets or coils back up to Middlesbrough. So it became a very sensible steel centre.
Walker Steel had become the name at the top of the ship table, and when British Steel moved into the transfer market, the asking price was £330 million. The boy from Providence Street had struck gold.
He always had a saying, think big. And over his desk in his office, that saying went over there, and it stopped there while he finished. Think big. And he knew we were going places then.
I think it says, I am the boss, and if anybody doubts this, or words to that effect, refer to Rule 1, which is I am the boss. And I think that's down at Ewood Park now.
Blackburn Rovers wore hard shirts. West Ham United will be recognised in the picture by their plain dark shirts.
But all work and no play was never Jack's way. Since the 40s, he had another passion in his life, Blackburn Rovers. Unlike his own successes, however, his beloved team was struggling. A First Division title had eluded them since 1914, an FA Cup since 1928. Those heady days had long since passed. By the late 80s, Second Division Rovers crowds were below 10,000. The only real reminder of those days gone by was an ageing ground. Blackburn were in need of a miracle, and the man with the Midas touch was ready to perform it.
I've always loved Blackburn and Blackburn Rovers, and I could see them going very fast into the Third Division. And to get back from the Third Division, can take a long time. Money doesn't come into it. And once you're down there, you can't get the players and you can't get the atmosphere. And that's really decided I had to do something, and that's what I did it for.